welcome. It's lovely to have you here again. I've had my first day working at the prayer writer's desk, and I can confirm writing on this beautiful Victorian piece of wooden solid furniture is a much more peaceful process than when I was writing on the glass table. And with this wood, I just have a feeling of the job takes as long as it takes, Kelly. And when I was working on the glass table, I kind of had some residual leftover feelings of having to hurry, which may have been because I had used that same table for the corporate world. Doesn't actually matter. The table's gone and this one's here, and I absolutely love it. So we have a very, very special day today, and I'm not rushing. This one will take as long as it takes, and yeah, I love that. So I love my gram, and today is the 29th of the 8th, 2022, and it's her happy birth time gram. So I have to start with just this Archangel Chamuel vibration. Just everything here has got the vibration of Archangel Chamuel's unconditional healing love. So today I will be discussing and saying these words out loud. So I ask you to watch responsibly in alignment with your own soul's intuitive knowing. Your intuitive soul knows if you are ready or not to hear these words. So 2 minutes 20. So that's the soundbite that humanity have been trained that's as long as your attention span is. So if you've got that far and this isn't for you, then good, you've already turned off. And if it is, I can say these words out loud. Suicide. I can also say committed suicide. I can say committing suicide. I can say those words. Shame, I can say that word. And I can also I'm going to say these words. Oh, just dropped my little pen, which is my flash little pointer, but it doesn't matter because I've got another one. The taxpayer-funded corporation of or for health is run and controlled by psychopaths in New Zealand. The corporation, the entity, the firm, the establishment, not the majority of people working in there. So when I'm talking about the system, the corporation, I am talking about this, not the majority of people who work for these toxic organizations. And when I refer to their book, the Diagnosis and Statistical Manual of New Zealand, 98% of the staff using their statistics do not fall into this psychopathic label. So when I'm talking about, the mental health system or the New Zealand health system, and it's run and controlled by psychopaths, I'm talking about the entire corporation and its culture and all of those deep words, not the people working there. So I can't make that any clearer, and if people choose to misunderstand that, then Archangel Chamuel will just help you. So yesterday we did a little bit of this is what working out looks like, and talked about the dark nights of the soul and the bad times. And we also talked about this concept of a little soul up here and the you that's going to incarnate. And so that was all yesterday about this is what working out looks like. So that's kind of a building block to today. And the next thing, so that we'll get to that building block. You just need to remember it in a little while. So yeah, family. Sometimes the shelter from the storm, sometimes the storm itself. So, when I was getting started this morning, I was listening before I even hopped out of bed and started to meditate to do this. The song Perfect by Pink came along, and I thought this was a perfect song to link in the description. And just as I was finishing and getting ready to put on the recording device bit, old Brit and Elton came on with their Hold Me Closer, the one. And I will put the link in the description, but for me it's not about listening to the words, it's about watching the video, because there's this little rocket and it's going up and it's just spewing out roses and pink unconditional love. So, let's start on this side, So, this is my little unbroken heart, and it felt like every one of those tower moments just broke it a little bit further. And when I started to engage in the both qualified and unqualified world of understanding about mental wealth, and the book started being pulled out, what I found was the more I learned about myself relative to the book, the further away from okay it got me. The more I learned about you from the book, both from the qualified and unqualified sources, the further away from your love I felt I was, which was the opposite of my intent. And on Tuesday, the 26th of July, 2022, at 1 p.m, I was working with a medium who was channeling you, and I was sharing the small memories of words, to him, which is to you. And the answer came back, but who said this? And I said, you did. And then what happened is something happened in my mind, like all of this download from you. And it's like I was here looking back on my life, and then suddenly I got this ability to come up and swirl and see it completely different. And so I saw that, the clairvoyance part of your message, and then what I heard you say, so the clairaudient bit, is yes, I did say that when I was overwhelmed and under pressure a few times. Can you remember everything else now? And once I did this, yes I do, yes I can. And that all of these attempts at fixing this broken heart, in that minute, that second, it just got fixed. I saw everything so different once this happened. So that was real powerful. So thank you for that. Okay, so this is one of my ones where, believe it or not, this is as unmessy as I can make it. So, what is going on in the collective consciousness? And that one we just did yesterday about this is what working out looks like. It's kind of like a little mini go on that. So this is you, Graham, and this one is me, Kelly. And we each said we would have a life's journey and we'd go through it and then we'd leave. And here, these little stars, as the previous video show, these are my tower moments. These are the times when my life turned all a little bit pear-shaped and I was having my dark nights of the soul. So there were a couple here in my childhood, and at this one here I got diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome, and that meant, that's when I caught it, but over here was when I got the diagnosis, and basically that meant you can't cry, Kelly. Physically where your eyes don't work anymore. So whatever crying was going on, I obviously said I want to stop crying, and this is what happened. I got diagnosed with that. But here, when I was 12, that is where your little soul that had done its journey, it was your time to go home. And how that happened is you committed suicide. You did. So we'll get to the details of that in a little bit, but that's what happened. And so these are the times where I went for some counselling, and just been told we need to go back to the collective consciousness bit before we dive into this bit. Okay, so I went on the Twittergram. As I wrote it, I finally just got why I called it that. And there was a question. Did government change something that moved death by suicide to a different unknown category sometime in 2021? This was my answer. My understanding, the suicide checkbox removal and tick accidental death, a very harmful, insidious form of censorship. So yeah, that was my understanding. The suicide checkbox got removed from the form, and then the instructions for the people who, but then what do we tick? They tick accidental death. That's my understanding. Then there was some lady, she made a comment. So this is some lady who lives to swim in the sea. That's how I, from the Twittergram, that's how I would identify her. This is very important. In the treatment injured groups of people, some people are just hanging on or talking of ending it because the pain is unbearable. Also, being not believed or acknowledged is torture for them. It's heartbreaking. So this is the collective consciousness of the Twittergram, and I didn't know that. Well, I did know about that, but I didn't know about this. So then I made this comment. I'm so sorry to hear many injured people are making the ultimate sacrifice and taking themselves off the earth plane. I will write some specific prayers for those that have left and for those who are contemplating the most final of acts as their last and only method of pain relief. So Graham, when I connected into the collective consciousness in your Twittergram, that is what you sent me yesterday, or maybe the day before. So let's get started over here. So in these points of time, when you're having your dark night of the soul, it does tend to be that something quite traumatic has happened and you are in a situation of fight or fright or fawn or freeze, and it's at these times that we do reach out for help. And for myself, when I've reached out in these times, I have been in this state. It's not my whole safe, regulated brain reaching out. It's these panicky, and for me quite often fawning or frightened was the one. Then I would go along to these sessions, and like, this is the whole of me and this is my north, but something's got me down here that I'm truly not that impressed with. And it does typically involve another person, close relationship, mother, father, sister, brother, uncle, auntie, grandparent, co-worker, partner, child, like whatever the relationship is, that's what you're typically going to talk about. And in these states, babbling it all out, I can see I've represented myself, this much of me, and the other person I've been talking about, I haven't represented their whole true 360 degree facets of them. I've only taken this little wedge. And this is kind of what happens. I've gone along to these places in this state when I'm at this bit, and then what happens is the book gets pulled out, this diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders, and quite often the labels are on me, but more often the labels are on this person, who the person given the advice has never met, and is only hearing this little slice from me in this state. So, I went to a nonviolent communication course on the weekend, and a woman there was giving an example about her sister-in-law, and that her counsellor said, your sister-in-law's a narcissist, just stay away from her. So, never met the sister-in-law, only hearing this little wedge of the story with this little wedge and making this diagnosis. So I think that's enough about the book, Kelly. Okay, so starting along this journey here, these are my experiences with engaging with mental health systems, both authorized, professional, qualified, and then a lot in here where was a lot of spiritual comfort, empathetic friends sharing their teachings from the book and from their counselling experiences. Like, don't waste your own 600, Kelly. I can tell you straight away that this is the problem. You've got a avoidant attachment style, as well as the other one that's real clingy. So yeah, don't spend your 600 to get them to tell you that about the book. I can tell you that. And spiritual healings, and pretty much I did everything available. Like, I've tried everything. I'd say aromatherapy, crystals, Orosoma, like quite a lot. I've done pretty much everything except for Wim Hof, because he wasn't popular back in this period of my journey. Then we got some more professional stuff, and yeah, so that's the journey that's got me to this place here, where I'm now just consolidating it all and making up my own mental health system, because like we just saw, I was getting further and further away from where I wanted going through this process. Okay, so number one was before you committed suicide, and we'd had some tower moments in our family. So Mum took us to counselling, and all I recall about that is I told the man about a dream. I remember the dream as vividly today as I did when I was 10 or 11 years old. And it makes a lot more sense today than it did back then. Then number two, when I was a teenager, a friend recommended a private money counsellor, because it's still very shameful back in the 80s and 90s to say that you're not feeling that flash feelings, like I'm feeling yucky inside. And that woman just used to get me to stand in the middle of the room, and then she'd give me some lines and say, if you were at a bank, put these lines around you to say how safe you would feel. So that was that. Then when I got to Unitech, I went to a Polynesian woman counsellor. And the thing is I demanded to see a woman to discuss childhood bad sexual touching. And I didn't want to see the man allocated to me. I wanted a woman, and so the Polynesian woman was perfectly fine for me. Like, that actually resonated with my heart better. And what I got told by that person, the little girls in the islands have it and get it worse than you, white girl. So that was that experience. Then somewhere along here, where's number 4? Oh, there's number 4. So that's when I went into 2 to 3 years of ACC funded, i.e. taxpayer funded corporation, sensitive claims counselling. What can I remember of that is just that every time I went to the doctor's and he opened the file, and on the little left-hand side of the coda file, it had sensitive claim, and it just was like flashing in my eyes, like, yeah, you can't put a label on something and think it's not what it is. So, childhood sexual abuse is childhood sexual abuse. It's not a sensitive claim. Committing suicide is committing suicide. It is not an accidental death. So then I went and did all my spiritual stuff for 10 or 11 years and tried some of that. And then I went and had an inside out view of the taxpayer funded corporation run and controlled by the psychopaths called the New Zealand mental health system. So yeah, I had a great experience of looking at that from the inside out and the outside in, and that was illuminating. But that's a sideways, and we've got books and books written on that for later times. Then somewhere here, was it here? Oh no, that's me today. So there's a date here, and I would have dated it. So on the 21st of the 10th of the 20, I saw this book here. This Is Not How It Ends, by Jahan Castaneda. And he was on The Breakfast, and I back then I was still programmed and hypnotized by the state, and that's just as well, because I heard him talking about his book, and I just rushed out and bought it straight away that day, and I ended up buying 2 copies because I was that person that was raving about it, and if someone wanted to borrow it, then they weren't taking my copy. So I sent him an email. My personal version of mental distress has been searching for an answer to help me help myself. I have found the New Zealand mental health system to be a systemically broken mess, and know my answers can't and won't be found there. So we had a nice little back and forth email for, at least a couple of weeks. And then on this day, the 4th of the 11th, 20, when I was reading this book for maybe the 5th or 6th or 86th time, I'm looking at page 76, where you mention trauma-informed care. I am interested to know how to find this type of professional support. Are you prepared to recommend any psychologists, counsellors, etc. in the Auckland area for me to research further, or a treatment type aligned with the concept? And what happened was he recommended a counsellor. And crazy story, I made an appointment, and the first day that I walked into the room, that book was sitting on the person's desk that I was there to see. Then a couple of months or however long into that process, this person told me I needed a GP. Your life experiences and all of your trauma and fear-based stuff that are tied up with, being hurt, and then the doctor's hurting you on top of the child that had already been hurt in the same place that the abuser was hurting you. That is not helping you, Kelly. And this person recommended a GP, and that GP is the best doctor for me in the world. And then working through with that person, I found they, at a point in time, recommended another counsellor focused on career challenges. So that is the journey. And up until the other day, all that was happening was my heart was getting more and more broken, and I was getting further and further away from my intent, which was just to want to be able to love you and honor you. So today is your birth time, and I've written you a letter, and I've drawn you a painting, and I got the gifts. So I had a person ask me where these cards came from, and I went and did some Googling on the Trade Me where I'd got them in 2020, and they weren't there, but these cards came up and these cards came up. So I bought them, and they've both turned up today. So it's your birth time, and I get the present. So that's pretty cool. Before we dive into those, I'm going to read this letter that I've spent today writing to you. And I once I got started, I could have been writing in by your next birth time, your next birth time. So anyway, let's start. And let's see if I can just hold this on you while I read, because it's quite little, and I'm not going to be able to read it through the camera thing. So yeah, let's have it. Let's have us both. Nah, just let's have you and some of the painting that I did for you. Dear Graham, happy birth time. I honour you today. It's taken almost 40 years to get to this day. I'm so excited. For so long my heart was broken, and the efforts to heal my heart and be able to say without shame and without hiding any part of my true soul's essence that I love you, and I want to tell the world how marvellous and talented and how incredible a woman you are and was and will be. I recall the past 12 to 18 months before that day in March where, as a last and only method of pain relief, you took that 30-30, placed it to your third eye, and pulled the trigger. You, the hard worker that you were, and how I've always remembered you, stood over that incinerator, burning plastic fish float after plastic fish float, inhaling all those toxic fumes, totally unbeknownst to you, poisoning yourself from a well-intentioned and good-hearted act of loving kindness. You didn't want to leave any mess behind for the people lucky and blessed enough to move their family into the home you and Papa X had built with your own two hands. Well, two times two, because there were four hands, for your own family. Of course you had a community of talented friends, family and helpers pitching in. And you built a lovely, solid, safe, healthy home for your three girls. And I know that for the four of us who got to be the next generation, it was a magical place. My two observations. As kids, with hindsight, counselling, and a lot of diagnoses from the book, both about myself and everyone else, we were around mental distress. We were just blessed enough not to know. It wasn't until I was a teenager and young adult that the cognitive diagnosis of my most cherished love family unit, mum, dad, you, Papa X, grandma and granddad, all the head-based stuff started to break my broken heart further. The children of today, currently gathering the baggage of their future mental wealth challenges, are being told about that now. Anyway, that was one of my little sideways. Back to you. The other thing, when we were all young, four of us within 29 months, you trusted us and knew we would be okay. Of course, when out, you would do the voice to stop the boy, one of us, running onto the road. But at your house, on your quarter or maybe half acre of Sunnyvale paradise, you built with love, so your three girls could have everything you never had. And where you worked and worked and worked, you gifted us children the blessing of exploring nature and the complete absence of a helicopter style of parenting. We got to explore and make our own the orchards and horse paddocks next to your house. We explored your garden, and I remember vividly your incredible rose garden. We would play dragons with the prickles, pick them off and lick them to stick to my nose. I remember how if we wanted to help you with your outwork, you would always set us up with some glue and fish floats. I like how if we wanted to bake scones, you would tell us to do it ourselves. You'd recite the recipe and we'd run inside to make you some scones. I remember vividly the time Papa Rex looked at what we'd mixed and what you'd told us. It doesn't matter what she told you, this does need milk. And he poured in the milk and mixed that concrete back to actual scone mix. I remember every addition or extension you added to your home, digging out under the house and creating 2 new rooms, and extending your kitchen with that lovely bay window. I remember your sewing room, how incredibly talented you were at whipping up incredibly well-tailored clothes for us all. I smile now with happiness. However, at the time, the fabrics did cause some embarrassment. I remember a seconds t-shirt you got me, and you personalised and put an emblem on the hole over the chest. You made that broken t-shirt even more beautiful. What I love most, and remember, is when a young Maori girl in my class stole it. And it was undeniable because it was Graham Couture. You and Mum both said the same thing. That poor girl, that poor soul, that she has to steal off us who consider ourselves poor. We let her keep the t-shirt, and I got the gift of seeing poverty with colourblind eyes. It wasn't her race that was the problem. It was her family's finances. I remember you taking me on a bus trip to see gardens for an entire day. I didn't appreciate nature as actively then as I do now. But I know it was you the other day that told me to make heart hands and push the soil around the plants, to make them feel safe, like when I used to tuck you, or them, into bed. The other day I recall feeling so special and having a full light force of your sunny love on me. The other day I recall feeling so special and having the full light force of your sunny love on me was the day you dressed me up in some of your linen pants and a beautiful pink t-shirt. We were going to Karangahaki Gorge to visit family, and I felt so special and beautiful in the clothes you dressed me in. There is a photo of us all that day, and my chest is puffed out in pride. It's so very different than the majority of photos I've taken of me from my childhood. I love it. Your cooking, oh my God. No words for how incredible you could make basic, cheap ingredients taste. Our family trips to Napier, us kids nestled safely on the back of the truck. You knew our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old souls knew enough about the world to stay safe back there. Now the floodgates of these memories, the majority of who you were and are flooding back. I feel I can literally write for days, flooding my body with love, unconditional love, filling the crack in my old heart where shame once upon a time resided. However, that is a small sideways for later. Back to the toxic poisoning of your beautiful, precious body. It was at the time of the ICI chemical fire in Auckland, and a great deal of firemen were toxically poisoned. Same, yet different to you. I watched your body become bedridden from that poison. I watched as Papa Rex left his job and you both devoted every physical hour and every financial resource to finding the path or treatment back to your previous wondrous glory. I remember the ICI fireman story because you met some of them when you tried the bariatric chamber, you know, that thing they use for the diving bends, to see if that would help. And then a few months, a year down the track, the scientists, the doctors, the corporations who knew best and better started the "it's all in your head" lines. That spiraled, and as every attempt you made to heal, your intuition knew this was toxic poisoning,
not one of the many conditions in the what was then probably first edition book of Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. They're up to edition number 5 now, I think, almost a page each per 8 billion people, if you could choose to see it that way. Another sideways, I get it. So one day, you, who had tried each and every possible treatment to cure your physical body, came to the end of your pain threshold. After exhausting every avenue available to you, both the services provided by the taxpayer-funded corporations and those you had to fund yourself, you contemplated the most final of human acts, committing suicide as your last and only method of pain relief. You made the ultimate sacrifice of taking your life away to remove your pain. Fast forward, and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, no one knows the actual numbers. They are all calculated and shrouded in mystery and deception. You know, the taxpayer-funded corporations get to write the formula and make the statistics say whatever damn lies they need them to. Graham, the injured people are hurting in a same way that is different to your experience. I want to thank you, Graham, Jesus, and Mother Mary for delivering the miracles of unconditional healing to these human souls, these hurting human souls, who I know you see and recognize so well. I know when the 3 of you are ready, you'll write that prayer, i.e. channel it through me, and I know the prayer is already answered. I ask that you all just turn on a few, maybe 3,000 beacons of light to show these individuals in fright, fawn or freeze, not using their entire brain capacity at the moment, to please stay alive. The miracle treatment they are praying for will reveal itself. That isn't my thing in the honeycomb. Prayer writer is me. But I know tens, if not hundreds of thousands of workers for light are tirelessly working on that bit. To finish, I love you. I am not ashamed of you. That state and religious programming was wiped from my DNA and cells a few days ago. I will light 3 of my most treasured candles, one for you, one for me, and one for those hurting souls who, like you experienced, are contemplating making the ultimate sacrifice and the most final of acts, committing suicide as their last and only, and someone wrote that's not true, method of pain relief. For your birth time, I painted you a picture. It's number 21. And it is painted. It is called Coming of Age, and I painted it on Saturday the 21st of May and Sunday the 22nd of May. And I got the presents, and so I'll obviously pull the card, and there was a card that came with that deck there, and I'm going to read that out because I feel like that is your answer back to me from this letter. So anyway, lots and lots and lots and lots and all my love, Kelly. Now this is the painting I painted for you, and I want you to read. I want to read out loud to you. How do I make that all fit in? Doesn't really matter if it doesn't all fit in. Okay. Right. Ooh. Oh crikey, the number's not working. Computer says no, but Kelly said I will prevail. Okay, so this painting is called Coming of Age. All that I ever was, all that I continue to be, is who I was created and born to be, me. The journey of my spirit has brought me to the eternal world of my reality dreams. Healing love and light binds me to the universe, through the dimensions of time and space, across the boundaries of Mother Nature's balance, between the notes sung by a spiritual choir. My choir of guardian angels are singing songs and making beautiful music, With an abundance of spiritual guidance, I will step from before to now, what is and will be as I come of age, as I come into the age of my power. Meditation is the key. Peace and joy. KK. And so just, obviously, I think this is the important bit. Meditation is the key, peace and joy. And see, so I painted that for you on the Saturday 21st of May and Sunday 22nd of May 2011. And I hope you like it. And I do recall a picture that was hanging in your home for, a good 6 or 7 years from a 5-year-old painting at school. So I hope that this one finds a special place. Okay, so we've got to the end, and now I'm going to light these candles. So this one is for you, and this one is for me, and this is for those that are like you, like you but not like, like you. I'm not like you, but I'm like you. So same but different. So that's the one for the people who I don't need to say it, but look how bright she's shining for you. Okay, now, so I shuffled the cards, and I was going to do the selecty, and then these two on top did the little turny turn. So those are the two. So this message you have for me: I honour my heart for allowing me to feel. Thank you. That's the first time I've needed to tell myself to breathe. I honour my heart for allowing me to feel. And the collective consciousness of New Zealand, it's the lovers, Rangi and Papa, Sky Father and Earth Mother, partnership, duality, and something else. Partnership, duality, and union. So the lovers card, we're coming together, New Zealand, and the temptations are not there. So those are beautiful cards, thank you. And now I would like to read this. So Vanessa Voigt, thank you for these beautiful cards and having them be on my doorstep when I woke up at 9 a.m. this morning. I only ordered them on Friday evening, and they were here on my Graham's birth time. And I also ordered these ones, and they turned up, but a little bit later. So I'm going to have a look at them a bit later, but that's those ones. And and that's why I needed to show you this. So remember when I found those little succulents in the cemetery that were all abandoned, and I was trying to tidy up a grave, and when I tipped out the water, 3 little flowers fell on the ground, and the old abandoned grave, the woman shared your name, and I just have brought these home and loved them into life, and they're doing great. Okay, so the card you gave me through Vanessa, so that's her. But this is the words that you have sent back to me in reply to my letter, and because you're a time traveller, you wrote this before I'd written mine, but you knew what I'd written. So anyway, thanks for this reply. I'm going to enjoy it. Wherever you are in your journey of coming back home to yourself, I want to take a moment to honour you. Honour your physical body and all the trauma it may be holding for you. Honour your mind and its ability to both hold on to your past and transform your future. Honour your heart for always wanting to protect you from the hurt. Lastly, I want to honour that badass biatch inside you that is ready to take the first step towards claiming your power back. Remember, everyone is on a different path, and there is no set timeline for healing. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Know that I see you. Know that you are a queen who has been blessed with a body that can not only hold on to trauma, but also release it in order to birth a new you. There is nothing wrong with pain, suffering, and trauma. We have a tendency to view it as a bad thing. But know that through your pain and suffering, you can be transformed, blossoming into someone who is incredibly strong and capable. Know that this new version of yourself will shine so much brighter than a story which may have painted you as powerless or victimized. These cards are not about minimizing your trauma. What happened to you is not your fault. It never has been and never will be. You have the right and choice to take your power back, but only you can do that. Yes, there are people around you who can support you. There are tools you can use, videos you can watch, and books you can read. But the ultimate decision comes down to you. Take it as a, F yeah, I can do this. The words that are on these cards are words that I have used over the years, words that have brought me back into my body. I've been inspired not only by my own experiences, but by all the amazing women who have shared their stories with me. There is no right or wrong way to use these cards. What I want you to know is that they are another tool you can use to guide and heal yourself along your sacred path of rewriting your story. Aroha nui, Vanessa Voigt, and much love from Graham. And PS, tag me, Ness Voigt, on Instagram if you share. So I will tag her. And then if I wanted to email her, I could do that. And she would love to hear from me. So I think maybe I should email her and send her my episode from today, the 29th of August 2022, your birth time. It's so lovely to have my heart healed and be able to speak to you, speak of you, speak about you, and remember every day of your life that did not be the final one. All that programming of that one day defining you, I'm so grateful that's gone. And now I can honour you. Never deny your last day. I would never deny your last day. I would never tick the accidental death box. Never, never. That would be a dishonour to you. I love you. And I'll see you right after this when I'm opening the present. Bye.